the future. Those who fail at one thing are more likely to fail in many more things in the future. Those who lie once will lie again in the future. Those who kill once are apt to kill again in the future. Those who divorce once are likely to divorce again. Miscarrying increases the chances of it happening a second and third time in the future. Those who steal successfully once will do it again in the future. Those who have an affair will take advantage of opportunities to repeat them with others in the future. Those who accept a bribe once will continue to accept more bribes. Those who have given up on an opportunity once are apt to give up future opportunities that present themselves. Those who betray you once will betray you many times. First-time casino gamblers will return in the future. Those who are hurt by something once will be haunted by its fear and remain afraid of it forever. Those who discard their promise once will do so again and again. Those who are arrogant in expression, behavior, or language will remain so. Those who are careless about one thing will be so about many other things. A first-time deceiver will deceive many times again. Once in a cell, a person is more likely to enter another cell. Those who have doubted one thing will doubt many other things. Those who have been struck by lightning once will likely be stricken again. Those who have been fooled once are more likely to be fooled again in the future. If you swallow your anger once and a similar thing happens, you will do it again. Being unreasonable once will lead to being unreasonable many more times. If you break a precept once, then you will do it many more times. If you fail the first time, then failing the second, third, and all future times will become progressively easier. People who and things that make you uncomfortable the first time will never set you at ease in the future. Those who cannot do small things well will do more important things just as poorly. Those who are not hygienic will be sloppy in other aspects of life and cannot be quick. Those who do not finish what they start will procrastinate on everything. Those who made you sad once will repeat it again and again. Those who lack enthusiasm and passion will never develop them in the future. Those who let you down once will do so every time. Those who have schemed will continue to do so in the future. Those who are very attached to things are bound to stumble over them. Those who get fight germs poorly will become more easily infected with the passage of time. Those who believe they are right will never admit to being wrong. Those who find falsity, evil, and ugliness easily will never survive in a world of truth, goodness, and beauty. Habits make things become natural. When they become natural to you, they become your characteristics, which will be difficult to change. Therefore, a person's future developmental trends can be judged from their habits. 性自由是初级自由，也是终极自由. Sexual freedom is primary freedom and ultimate freedom. Xuefeng, November 19, 2019. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. Give me liberty or give me death. Liberty, love? For my love, I would sacrifice life. These two I need. For liberty, I will sacrifice my love. Life's ultimate goal is its pursuit of freedom. Why are people afraid of hell? Because it has no freedom. Why do people yearn for heaven? Because it has total freedom. What one longs for in jail is freedom. It is more precious than money, power, status, reputation, mansions, luxury cars, delicacies from land and sea, or top-brand clothing. Why do people not want to be slaves? Because slaves have no freedom. Why do they want to become celestials and Buddhas? Because those entities have more freedom. Can people ever get enough freedom? No. Only lives higher than ours can be fully free. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights says that all human beings are born free and everyone has the right to liberty. So what is freedom? Freedom means that one's will is fully exerted and displayed. We are members of societies, no more influential than drops of water in the oceans. It is impossible to fully exert and display one's own will, because the freedom of one person can easily conflict with that of another, so everyone must be restrained. Theoretically, the role and value of contracts, regulations, laws, constitutions, and so forth are to protect everyone's freedoms to the maximum, so everyone must act within their scope. Beyond this scope, freedom would lead to chaos and war. So then absolute freedom would lead to absolute restraint. Freedom is a high-level life state. People cannot have total freedom. For example, they cannot have the freedom to burn, kill, rob, deceive and swindle, humiliate, attack, slander or frame others, defecate in public places, hurt others, and so on. Individuals cannot have complete freedom. They can only pursue freedoms that have little potential for conflict with others, society, and nature, such as those of migration, imagination, thought, their pursuit of life in heaven, freedom from death, of labor and creation, and sexual freedom. Among all the freedoms, the first freedom that people should pursue is sexual freedom because without it, all the other freedoms are illusory and unreal, not ultimate, short-lived, and ineffective solutions. Sexual freedom is both primal and ultimate. In other words, sexual freedom is the core of all freedoms and the others are marginal. To pursue freedom, the first one to pursue is always sexual. What is sexual freedom? When it comes to sex, we should not narrowly restrict it to male and female sexual intercourse. Master Bodhidharma clearly pointed out in his Bloodstream sermon that nature, same word as sex in Chinese, is Buddha. When someone has sexual freedom, they are Buddha. Therefore, the meaning of sexual freedom is to be able to exist and live fully according to the Creator's intention. According to Chanyuan values, it means having the ability to exist and live according to the way of nature. For example, to see with one's eyes is a freedom of human nature. Eyes are for seeing, so if their function to do that were forbidden, that would be restricting and depriving one's freedom of nature. If one is prohibited from singing when they want to, they would lose some of their freedom of nature. Another example is that everyone has reproductive organs with purposes. They are not only used for excretion and procreation, but also for enjoying sexual pleasure. Restricting one's enjoyment of sexual pleasure is restricting their nature. If one fully enjoys sexual pleasure, it can be said that they have gained sexual freedom. There will always be those who, whenever sexual freedom is mentioned, will immediately think of sexual openness, carnalism, debauchery, lewdness, promiscuity, pimps, sluts, adulterers, fornication, and the like. These are purely assumptions and imaginings of the savage and foolish, or the expected understandings of men with brutish natures. Sexual freedom is the artistic blooming and enjoyment of the nature of the civilized, not the delicacy of scrambling barbarians. Some people attribute AIDS and other STDs, family breakdowns, and similar consequences to sexual freedom, but this is the same as attributing diseases to food, which makes no sense. If you compare sexual freedom to flying, you cannot deny or travel because planes have crashed. It can be said that other freedoms can only exist after sexual freedom has been obtained. Without sexual freedom, those others are empty talk. One's degree of life quality is closely related to their level of freedom. The higher their quality of life, the greater their freedom. When we look at nature, we find that animals are freer than plants. We are freer than animals. Celestials and Buddha are freer than us. And gods are freer than celestials and Buddha. To pursue freedom, we must first pursue sexual freedom. However, if one does not perfect their soul garden and does not possess the qualities of sincerity, kindness, beauty, love, faith, and honesty, then they absolutely cannot enjoy sexual freedom. In short, people cannot enjoy sexual freedom fully. This is determined by the quality of our species. If anyone can truly enjoy sexual freedom, congratulations, you are no longer a human being. You have elevated yourself to the status of a celestial or beyond. 知音哪里找? Where to find a bosom friend? Xuefeng, March 2nd, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Bandy. Where can one find a bosom friend? It's so hard to find a bosom friend in life. One true bosom friend is enough for a lifetime. It is easier to make a lot of money and be rich, but very difficult to find a bosom friend. One may have many friends but has no bosom friend. A bosom friend is very rare, like a gem. You cannot ask nor work to get it. There was no traveler on the ancient road till I met you in the cold mountains. The smile for seeing you is still on my face. We are saying farewell and weeping in a twinkle. Late at night in the candle light with your company is like dreaming. A bosom friend far away brings a distant land near. Without any word, my heart is drunk. No need for wine. Feel my heart. You will know how deep my memories are. In a watery region, I have nothing to give you as a memorial, so I will give you a plum blossom. In memory of Zhongziki, Boya won't play any music again. These are visions of a bosom friend. Where can we find a bosom friend? We cannot find a bosom friend in the official business place, casino, or battlefields. No bosom friend can be found among family, friendship, friends, classmates, or colleagues. No bosom friend can be found in political parties, religious organizations, family, relatives, various groups. We cannot find a bosom friend in contracts, agreements, courts, markets, or bars. In a word, wherever interests are entangled, no bosom friend can be found. Where is my bosom friend? Bosom friend is in your life channel, in your soul, in your spirit, and in your happily playing with your friends. Bosom friend is like a flower. You can only appreciate it. You never pluck it. Bosom friend is like water. You follow its flow and should not set standards for it. A bosom friend is elegant, free, and unrestrained. We should never have the desire to possess them. Bosom friend is like honey, sweet and mellow. It can only be sweet in the soul, in the spirit, and shouldn't be contaminated with a trace of dust. Absolutely beautiful things can only be enjoyed by absolutely beautiful lives. If we do not reach an absolutely beautiful state, it will never be possible for us to enjoy the nourishment of a bosom friend. We cannot beg for a bosom friend. We cannot buy a bosom friend. We cannot keep them by relationship, and we cannot kidnap them in the name of love. A bosom friend features an abundance of affection, but we should not attach to affection. Since times immemorial, affectionate people always suffer the most emotionally. Once you don't see each other for many days, you start to realize the place where you have spared from or maybe drunken stupor. The riverside is strewn with willow trees. The morning breeze wafts in with a waning moon. All day long, I expect you, but somehow, you are not back. Flower petals drifting, water flowing. I haven't seen you for so long. The Xiang River looks boundless, cut, severed and sorted. Messier still, this is the parting woe. Bosom friends are rare in the world. Only abound in Chanyuan. Clambered up the snowy peak and looked over the rivers. The mountain flowers are blooming. 连点赞都不给你好吝啬. You are stingy without giving likes. Xuefeng. February 19th, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Bandy. There are more than 200 contacts on my WeChat. Every time when I forward or post an article, very few people like the article. People who always like the articles are only 30. The other 170 people never likes. The Bible says in the Gospel of Matthew 11:16 and 17. But what comparison may I make of this generation? It is like children seated in the marketplaces, crying out to one another and saying, We made music for you, and you did not take part in the dance. We gave cries of sorrow, and you made no signs of grief. I am the incarnation of Jesus, and I will describe this passage of Jesus in a plain and simple way again. How should I describe you? I sang for you, you didn't clap your hands. I offered you a spiritual feast, and you didn't make any response. Is it so difficult to give a like? Giving a like won't make you pregnant or turn you into a pig. Since you are in contact with me, it proves that it is predestined. There is friendship between us. Since you have not deleted me, it proves that you are still willing to keep in touch with me. Why not give me a like from time to time? Even if you give me a like once in a week or once after 10 of my articles, at least I can know that you are still alive through the likes. Do you know why you are not willing to give me a like? The answer is stingy. You lack spiritual and soul wealth, indifferent, or you are no longer in this world. If you don't want to dedicate as much as lifting a finger, do you think you can have a bright future? Giving likes does not necessarily mean that you agree with the value and contents of the articles your friends forwarded. It is just an expression of, I care about you. Our beautiful future is accumulated by giving and dedication. If you are too stingy to give likes to friends, can you imagine how far you have fallen? Think about it carefully. When one day you are in trouble and no one come to help you, and when you reincarnate in the plant or animal world and unable to speak, don't blame the greatest creator for being unfair. That's because you are too stingy to give a like to friend, not to mention to offer other help. 微信群里大都是强奸犯. People mostly are rapists in the WeChat groups. Xuefeng. March 8th, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Bandy. What's the day today on Earth? So many WeChat groups. The epidemic howling again. The crowds are frantic with dreadful and painful memories. Daily routine should be the same. Only that the mind has changed already. How idle are you? Drifting in the WeChat groups all day. I have been in many WeChat groups, but I quit from them one by one. Why? Because I was raped by WeChat group friends. For example, when I joined a new WeChat group, I firstly said greetings and blessings to all friends here. As a result, very few people responded. In a group of nearly 500 people, almost no one paid attention to me. I was confused. Are they all dead here? There is no echo in this empty valley, just like a tomb will not respond back to me. Anyhow, I will stay and see what are people doing here. As a result, I was bombarded indiscriminately. The WeChat group is fishier than the seafood market. What is in the seafood market is at least something from the water, but the WeChat group is like a rubbish shopping mall with everything in it, which is dazzling and dizzying. There are Big God, Main Buddha, Bricklaying Specialist, same pronunciation as expertise in Chinese, superior, teachings of every religion and system of philosophy, Taoist magic. Those are from heaven, underground, water, mountains, history, current, philosophy, technology, even from the gutter. Everything you can imagine, especially those superiors, they are very clever, cleverer than Mr. Clever, than the village named Very Clever. They are all masters, level figures, big shit, same pronunciation as Big Master in Chinese, whom I do not dare to provoke, and I cannot afford to. I observed it carefully for a long time, and finally discovered the mystery. The WeChat group is a place for people who have nothing to do but to show their existence. They all talk to themselves, feel good about themselves, arrogant, self-conscious, making aimless judgment, incapable of doing great things, but don't want to do small things, having strong feelings of I am the number one in the world. If I can't do it, who can? Very bored but want to be blockbusters and all-powerful big shots. Why did I say that I was raped? Because whether I like it or not, people throw the fragmented things that they think are good toward my retina. And at this moment, they want me to go with the Buddha. Another moment, they want me to follow Jesus. For a while, they ask me to follow the party. Another while, they ask me to follow Tao. I was confused and lost. Don't know where to go. What's more, lots of small pictures were piled up before me, whether I like it or not. Isn't this rape? In the WeChat group, what I fear most is not the above, but the teachings of high morals. Using the most beautiful words, they taught me how to be a human being, how to improve my spirituality, how to become a Buddha, how to live forever, how to win the universe. They even taught me how to walk, whether I should take my left foot first or the right foot first. Your grandpa. You have said all good things. I guess you have also done all bad things. What do you call this? This is called moral kidnapping, belief kidnapping, positive energy kidnapping. Looking back on my past, I found that I am not a good person myself. I have also done this before. No wonder some people call me preach, someone call me a shrew, and some suspect that the purpose of my hype on the internet to promote life genuine is to cheat money and sex. Thinking about it, it seems really this case. I saw countless people are following in my footsteps. I am not good person, and you probably aren't good person either. Is there any good stuff in the WeChat group? The answer is yes, there is, but very rare. It is harder to find good thing here than to find diamonds in the forest. A WeChat group must be a place for the exchange of ideas and emotions. If a WeChat group is not for communication, but to show off, to spread and peddle your garbage ideas and garbage works, and to transfer thing that you don't understand from one group to another, to copy a large number of small pictures, then the WeChat group is a tragedy. If you don't believe me, check yourself. People who always talk about gods and deities are in the WeChat group. People who are brainless are checking WeChat group all day long. All people who have nothing to do are muddling along in WeChat group. All people who goof around and want to make troubles are in WeChat group. People who love quarrels are in WeChat group. Crooks are in WeChat group. People who want to be a blockbuster are in WeChat group. And people who want to pick up treasure and garbage dump are also in WeChat group. I have said so many bad things about WeChat group. In fact, WeChat groups have a powerful function, that is, its high speed of information dissemination, especially when disseminating of scandals. If you are not careful enough, you might be drowned by the spit of WeChat groups. WeChat group is also a monster revealing mirror. Gods, Buddhas, angels, bodhisattva and demons, ghosts, spirits, all are performing and will all in the end show their original forms in WeChat groups. And their followers will also go to their ways, The cattle enter their bull pen. The pigs enter their pig pen, and the mice dig their holes. WeChat group, I am afraid of you. You occupy a lot of my precious time. You deprive me of the right to be filial to the elderly, to take care of the children, and to delve into learning. You have transformed me into a walking corpse with indigestion, and you have made a lot of strange animals like parrots who can only copy others' words. You also have made me a lonely depression patient in a very busy place. I must run away from you quickly. Hiding in my building. Who cares what season it is? I am going to have fun. 疫情形势下慢聊人生. Life in the crisis of the pandemic. Xuefeng. February 8, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. Under the outbreak of a large-scale pandemic, doctors, nurses, and morticians have the most difficult and dangerous jobs. They are like running back and forth on a death line every day. A moment of inattention, and one might become infected and taken away by the king of hell. It has been found that the 3 occupations listed above are high-risk ones. From now on, we will have deep respect for workers in these 3 fields. We find that in extreme situations, freelancers who can change their living situations at any time according to their needs are the safest, while civil servants, soldiers, police, employees of state-owned enterprises, medical workers, and the like, who are the nuts and bolts of the state machine, do not enjoy the right to choose freely where they will work. They can only bite the bullet, whether they like it or not. It turns out that freelancing is often the best way to live our lives. The virus broke out and many people fell. Yesterday, they might have been planning for their futures with ambition. Today, everything suddenly collapsed. They themselves even disappeared. No one knows what will happen tomorrow. In this case, we should live every day well. Any behavior or motivation that deliberately weighs the pros and cons are worthless in the face of future changes. What do people rely on for a lifetime? Their state? Their political party? Their religion? Their family? Their friends and relatives? No, none are reliable. The only things that one can trust in are the greatest creator and themselves. Where is the safest place? A city? A rural area? At home? Abroad? Nowhere is safe. The safest place is in the quality, merits, and blessings of your own life. Mankind's fate is destined, but the fates of those who revere the greatest creator and walk the way of the greatest creator can be changed. The fate of human society is also doomed. Read Lou Bowen's inscription of Rescue of Catastrophe, then relate it to the status quo of today's pandemic. We know that everything is predestined. However, if one walks along the roadmap of life genuine, today's catastrophes can be avoided, even reversed. 10 years ago, I warned repeatedly of the crises that mankind will face and created the modern Noah's Ark for mankind, the new oasis for life, formerly the second home. But not many people listened to me, let alone followed me. Not only did the government not listen to me, but they even attempted to destroy my Noah's Ark. Not only did people not support it, but they ridiculed, satired, mocked, attacked, and verbally abused it. Now, as people face various crises helplessly and are worrying with fear on the verge of death, I want to ask them, why do you not act according to the will of the greatest creator? Why do you not listen to the teachings of gods, Buddhas, and celestials? Do you think that you can escape punishment and death by power, money, or academic status? Laugh not so early and be not complacent about your relative safety today. More violent events will strike you later. Heaven exists, so why not go there? You seem to prefer your fast track to hell? If you do not believe in heaven's existence, the new oasis for life production and life mode created by Life Genuine is right under your noses. It is alive, so why not believe in it? Even if you do not believe the facts in front of you, what else do you believe? Everyone ages, so what is the best way to do it healthily? When a husband and wife are aging together, no one can take care of them. Is this not sad? Even if you can go to a quality nursing home, even if you have children to take care of you, and even if you enjoy elderly benefits like the ones that are offered in Canada, even the world's best old age care methods cannot be compared to those of the new oasis for life. They are substantially different. Their benefits cannot be described in tens of thousand words. Why do you not praise them and yearn for them? Today is the Lantern Festival, where the flower market is as bright as daytime. Where is the scene of thousands of doors opened, lanterns lit? The capital boiling in the Lantern Festival of January, countless palace ladies dancing sleeve dances, and the music of singing and dancing straight to the sky? Is it now the whole people? It is the Lantern Festival in my hometown now. I am sitting in a remote, lonely village. Can you still hear firecrackers exploding? Can you still see children laughing and playing games? Can you still smile and laugh for the joyful scenes of girls searching for their favorite people under the lanterns and of, when the moon hung behind the willows, the young people went on dates under it? But in the crowd once and again, I look for her in vain, when all at once I turn my head and find her where lantern light is dimly shed? Where are the good old days? Who ruined our good times? Will next year's Lantern Festival reappear with its past grandeur? Even if it does, can you guarantee that you will be there? People think that the most visionary people are in the United Nations and in the courts, but reality tells us that behind the red lacquered gates, wine is left to sour and meat to rot. And those who really care about the suffering of the people might be civil workers doing their jobs in society. 不要把自己看成一碟菜. Do not regard yourself as a dish. Xuefeng, April 5, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. Gaze up at the starry sky. The universe would still be brilliant with one star missing. Look at the river flowing. It would still surge forward with one stream missing. Recall history. The earth would still rotate if a sage were missing. Consider yourself. The world would still be happy without you. Be humble, low-key, ordinary, common, and do not regard yourself as a dish. Looking back at every landscape that I experienced on my journey through life, I found that many people descended sadly because they took themselves as a dish. Zhang Guitao, one of the founders of the Communist Party of China, was once the vice chairman of the central government of the Chinese Soviet Republic. He was the leader of the Red Fourth Army and commanded 100,000 soldiers. What a powerful pillar of talent and command. He finally froze to death in a shabby nursing home in a suburb of Toronto, Canada. Why? Because he took himself as a dish. When the Central Red Army led by Mao Zedong and the Fourth Red Army under his leadership joined forces, Mao had only slightly more than 10,000 soldiers left while Zhang had more than 100,000 elite soldiers. Zhang felt that he should be the boss, and he began looking down upon Mao. So their strife, both covert and overt, began. Zhang finally left the party central committee, left the collective, and his ending was very sad. Genius is born and Mao was placed here by the greatest creator. Though Mao was sometimes impoverished, his courage, bearing, and foresight could not be compared to the elites of his age. When Mao's comrades took themselves as dishes, their tragedies became inevitable. Life-Genuine has been through 17 springs and autumns, and many members who regarded themselves as dishes have left it along the way. Originally more than 2,000 Chanyuan Celestials, now less than 200 or 300 remain. The remainder are all honest people who feel that they are not dishes, but it is precisely these remaining 200 or 300 Chanyuan Celestials who have witnessed the history of the development of Life-Genuine, and they have enjoyed the stunning scenery of their journeys through life and life. In 1994, I drove a dilapidated, open-top Jeep through the jungle alone in the Binga region of northern Matabeleland province, Zimbabwe. As I entered a small town, a large group of people gathered around a drunken native and yelled at him. As I arrived, he rushed over to me and shouted, "This is my boss. This is my boss." As he pointed his index finger toward me, I felt that my dignity had been violated, so I replied loudly and sternly, "I am not your boss. I am not your boss, stop." The drunken guy meant to flatter me, but he was criticized by me, so he walked away a little grimacingly. The booing people laughed at him, but on the other hand, they seemed to be calling me an unworthy creature. I later became annoyed and regretted it. My attitude had been so ugly. I could have befriended the guy, danced with him, and made everyone happy, but at that time, I thought that I was awesome and I felt like I was a dish and became humiliated later as a result. This incident left me with an indelible memory, still vivid after a quarter century. I became wiser after that incident and learned much from it. My biggest lessons were to never regard myself as a dish and to never look down on a seemingly ordinary person. Even if you encounter a beggar, treat them with courtesy and definitely never consider yourself superior. I had not yet learned Laozi's Tao Te Ching at that time. Had I learned it, It would have been all glare tempered, all dust smoothed, and I would never have made such a low-level mistake. Never look down on an ordinary person. Never leave the collective, the masses, or the main group, and never regard yourself as a dish. When you think that you are superior and are not willing to associate with honest, simple, and ordinary people, no matter how freaking awesome you are actually nothing more than flatulence in the breeze. 你被相所迷了. Are you puzzled by form? Xuefeng. August 6, 2020. Translated by Yu and edited by Care. Buddha said that everything with form is unreal. All that is void of form is Buddha. Buddha also said not to abide our minds in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or dharma, but to actually abide nowhere. The article, "The Xuefeng pirate ship has set sail," frightened a Buddhist student. Reading the expressions beauty kidnappers and love affair makers seemed as a change of color. Reading seducing and flirting scared the wits out of the student. Who is the one professed love of what one actually fears? Puzzled by names and forms without seeing their essence. Puzzled by dharma without seeing the law. A bowl of bird's nest porridge, whether it is called horse urine or dog shit soup, is still nutritious bird's nest porridge. Whether you call celestials vulgar or elegant, they are still celestials. Tao that can be described is not absolute Tao. Names that can be given are not absolute names. Buddha has no absolute dharma, but Buddha's dharma always varies according to the situation. When the highest type of followers hears Tao, the truth, they try hard to live in accordance with it. When mediocre types hear Tao, they seem to be aware and yet unaware of it. When the lowest types hear Tao, they break into loud laughter. If it is not laughed at, it is not Tao. When they do not command faith, some will lose faith in them. Those who lack faith in Xuefeng will find many other things with which to lack faith. Mere humans are always obstructed by their own ideas. Sophisticates are always fascinated by names and forms, alas. The vulgar are knowing and luminous. I alone am confused and dull. The vulgar are clever and self-assured. I alone am depressed. 生命禅院导游写风是个屁. Xuefeng is a fart. Xuefeng. June 29, 2020. Translated by Yu and edited by Care. A thing's value is judged according to its usefulness. If no one needs it, it is as a fart. For some people, certain things are supreme treasures, but for others, they are as good as farts. I gave a pig a bowl of pearls. Not only did it fail to thank me, but it also indicated that what I gave it was worse than a fart. I gave a lamb a bowl of braised pork. Not only did it not show any gratitude, but it also accused me of disrespect. I gave a donkey a piece of gold. Not only was it not impressed, but it even kicked me. As I passed a grand ancestral worship ceremony in a village one day, many people were prostrating themselves and kowtowing. I asked a standing man who was watching at the ceremony why he failed to join them. He said that it was for their ancestors, but to me it was just a fart. Or one day I asked a young man in Africa if he knew who the first president of the United States was. He said that he only knew the presidents of his country and that the presidents of other countries meant shit to him. No matter how precious things are, how great and important people are, in the eyes of people who do not need them, they are all farts. From this, I came to a conclusion. Life genuine Xuefeng is a fart. This leads to another phenomenon, that farts are to be found everywhere. 不要活在当下，要活在未来. Live in the future, rather than in the present. Xuefeng. August 29, 2020. Translated by Yu and edited by Care. The present is painful. Food, clothing, shelter, birth, old age, sickness, death, reciprocity, resentment, and hatred are all current troubles and pains. 9 out of 10 times, life is not as good as one wishes it were. Every family has their problems, and each individual has troubles. Troubles are not easily escaped. As we live in the complications of the human world, we have to adapt ourselves to changing circumstances. Every day, people either struggle on the line of death or spend their days worrying. Living in the present is like living in a sea of bitterness. Rooted in the present, our consciousnesses should live in the future because the future is the gathering place of our dreams, ideals, and fantasies. We can imagine the beauty of our future to our heart's content even if the reality is bitter and tired, even if it is terrible. As long as we let our consciousnesses live in an ideal state of the future, we can be optimistic, romantic, treat sad situations as temporary dreams, grit our teeth, and survive. Think about the beautiful futures that we plan. Think about the picturesque and free places in which we will live. Even if the sky falls, it is of no matter. Our past consciousnesses create our present realities. Similarly, our present ones can create better futures. According to the principle of visualized thinking, our futures are mainly created by our imaginations, so we can create our own ideal futures. In this case, why should we live in the present? Would it not be more comfortable to live in a future scenario that we can imagine? The only things that are impossible are those that cannot be imagined. If we live in the future, then we can imagine a better life to our heart's content. This is not Aku's way of winning spiritually. It is a way to get rid of difficulties and move towards a better future. We should find ways to make ourselves happy. I was born to a very ordinary peasant family, but my consciousness often lives in the future where thinking about it makes me happy. Many things that I imagined in the past have become my reality today, so I learned the technique of living in the future. I can rest assured that my future will be as thrilling and beautiful as I want it to be. When I live on the island of Balikia on the Celestial Islands continent ahead of time, all of my confusion and worries will be gone, as will my anxieties, concerns, and fears. How stupid it is to live in the present. Live in the future. As long as you live in your imagination of a better future, you will find that the present is a dream. Try to see how it works. 意识与疾病的关系探讨 The relationship between consciousness and disease. Xuefeng, September 15, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. If someone get ill, something must be wrong with their consciousness. Let us compare Bangladesh with Switzerland. Bangladesh is characterized as being dirty, disorderly, and poor. Switzerland is characterized as being clean, orderly, and wealthy. There is a great difference between the two countries in terms of environmental sanitation. Were the mountains, rivers, earth, streets, and lanes in Bangladesh originally filthy and those in Switzerland pristine? Of course not. The problem lies in the collective consciousness of the local people. The Bengalis have never cared about their environmental sanitation, so their environment is filthy, but the Swiss have always paid close attention to theirs, so it is pristine. We will find the same facts and reasons when we go to your neighborhood, and we will find that some families are neat and clean with few mosquitoes and flies, while others are filthy and have many of them. If you want to know the reason, the problem lies in the family's consciousnesses, which has little to do with material wealth, occupations, or even education. From this, we must infer that human bodies are environments, and if they are unclean and unmaintained, then they will have diseases. Does the problem come from other people in society? There is no doubt that there is a problem with the consciousness that is in charge of the environment of the body, and it can only be concluded that if someone is sick, then something has to be wrong with their consciousness. The story of mistaking the shadow of a bough in one's cup for a snake is known throughout China. Du Xian accepted a drink from a county magistrate. After he returned home, he felt abnormal with unbearable pain in his abdomen, and he could hardly eat or drink. Later, after he realized that the snake he thought he had seen in his cup was only the shadow of a bough hanging on the wall, that there had never been any snake in his cup, his illness cleared up immediately. Is this not a typical consciousness problem? It shows that human diseases are all too often caused by the consciousness. Someone felt just a little bit uncomfortable, but they went to a hospital to be examined and were informed that they were suffering from late-stage cancer. After returning home, they fell ill. Their symptoms were like those of cancer. They became desperate, and everyone in their family began preparing for their hospitalization. They went to the hospital again to get more test results and found out that it was only a cold. As for the late stage of cancer, that was just a mistake from reading someone else's chart. After hearing the news, the patient, who was lying in bed and could hardly walk, suddenly jumped up and went home laughing. There have been many such cases. What do they show? They show that many human diseases are made by our consciousnesses. When people are angry and outraged, their hands will tremble, their lips will turn purple, and they will even shiver uncontrollably. Their hands and lips are normal in the beginning. So why would there be trembling and purple coloration? Because their consciousness is angry and outraged. If there is no anger or rage in their consciousness, then their hands will not tremble and their lips will not turn purple. This proves that the physical causes of diseases come from people's consciousnesses. We can continue to infer logically the reasons that consciousnesses lead to diseases, but we have read enough. Conscious illnesses can lead to physical ones. If the above logical reasoning fails, then just observe the people who get ill often. If you observe them carefully, you will see that there are many problems in their consciousnesses. They often share personality traits such as passivity, negativity, pessimism, persistence, jealousy, judgmentality, being nosy, a tendency to gossip, worry, fanciful thinking, selfishness, greed, desires to dominate, quarrelsomeness, individualism, wanting to punish others, easiness to anger, hate, depression, difficulties sublimating themselves, having heart knots but with reluctance to speak out honestly, and so on. At the same time, let us observe those who are healthy and rarely get sick. What are their characteristics? Are they not open-minded, optimistic, romantic, selfless, giving, praising, laughing, and so forth? Listen to this. Some people feign illnesses to escape labor, to avoid a person or environment, to punish others by abusing themselves, or just to obtain the pity and sympathy of others. Children feign illnesses to avoid going to school, and the same holds true for adults. The severity of the problem is that people who pretend to be ill often are sick in their minds to the point where over time, their bodies actually become ill. Another phenomenon of people falling ill is giving unhealthy information to their subconscious minds, such as speaking from their hearts. I really want to lie in bed and have some fucking rest. After you give your subconscious this instruction, it will mobilize all factors to give you some rest, such as an injury, a fracture, the stomach swelling, headaches, accidents, cuts from knives, and so forth. In other words, their subconsciousness will not lie idle, but will help realize that desire to lie in bed. One of the Life-Genuine values is living in the new oasis for life. One is not allowed to fall ill. Why have you fallen ill? Should you not reflect on it? It has been explained so clearly in the roadmap, but have you followed it? For example, have you thought of the prayers for Chanyuan celestials who live in the home and prayed every day? I have asked you to frequently participate in flirting. Have you done so? Have you done so to eradicate the poisonous weeds in your soul garden, to be more selfless, and so on? I am sorry that not only do I fail to comfort the sick, but even sprinkle salt on their wounds. But as a guide, my being a truth teller is a fact that cannot be ignored. Of course, some people's diseases are congenital and come from their births. They are in their genetic sequence, which they can do nothing about because every congenital disease carrier bears the consequences of their last life. So they can only bite their bullets and bear them. To tell you the truth, every life in heaven is free from diseases. To say goodbye to diseases forever, you should do more good deeds, accumulate more merits, and walk strictly in accordance with the roadmap given to you by your spiritual guide. 所有抱怨都没道理. No complaints make sense. Xuefeng, September 23, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. All complainers are confused in their brains. Those who complain do not understand the truth. A girl entered a food store and asked the shopkeeper for a bag of rat poison. I'm sorry, replied the manager, but this is a food store and we don't sell rat poison. The girl complained, why do you not sell rat poison? You made my trip for nothing. There was a rabbit who had been looking throughout a cornfield all day to find some carrots to eat without finding any, so it complained, humans do not care about us. Why do they not grow carrots in their cornfields? There was a worker who, seeing his boss driving their Mercedes-Benz to work every day, complained, the world is unfair. Why should he drive to work in his Benz while I have to take crowded buses every day? A wife complained to her husband, your former classmates have all become directors of divisions and directors general, while you are not even a section chief. I am ashamed of you. Her husband complained back, others' wives are so sensible. Only you criticize me every day. A social media netizen who entered a special flirting group hung around for a long time and then complained. There is no preaching and talking of scriptures or Tao here. Neither are their cooking skills or healthcare experiences. How can you all be so boring? A man came to a dictator's paradise and complained, "There is no democratic atmosphere here." Why should he always have the final say in everything and disregard the public's opinions? It is grossly unfair. One came to the prairie and complained, "I like climbing mountains, but there are no mountains here, which disappoints me a lot." After careful analysis, it is found that the head of any complainer must have been kicked by a donkey, their brain has short-circuited, or their mom must have mistaken a contraceptive for a cold medicine. I once complained until I finally found out that I might have entered the wrong room, taken my wife's sister as my wife, taken snakes as dragons, or become sworn brothers with pigs. Have you ever complained? What do you do when someone keeps on complaining around you? My experience is to pay them no attention because they are unreasonable and enjoy making trouble out of nothing. The more you care about it, the more trouble you will have. We can only lend deaf ears to them. Of course, you can laugh in your heart, laugh at this person who must have gotten up on the wrong side of their bed or their neurological synapses have opened, so that this kind of complaining will not hurt you, make you unpleasant, or anger you to explode. 做人不要追求公正公平. As people, we should not pursue justice and fairness. Xuefeng, October 9th, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. As a person, it is a mistake to pursue justice and fairness in life. I have lived in China, Africa, Oceania with Aboriginal people, and now in North America. During the 20 years of building life at Chanyuan, I finally found that life itself is very just and fair and that no one is wronged. Therefore, it is known that Tao is most just and fair, that the fairness and justice pursued by people are unnecessary, and that it is not only redundant, but also creates inequality and trouble. He lives in a villa, driving a luxury car while I live in a thatched house without even a bike. This is unfair, someone said. I said, what you see is unfair, but people are suffering from cancer and diabetes. Is it also unfair that you have neither? If someone has cancer, would it be fairer if you shared it? Others were imprisoned and their properties were confiscated. Would it not be fairer if you were also locked away? Is it not unfair that people have been living in heaven, but you have to live in this world? Since you seek fairness, why do you not keep your faith unchanged, make constant contributions, and stick to truth, goodness, beauty, love, faith, honesty, and peace even while suffering, enduring hardships, and in distress like others? It might be unfair for the Tang monk to become a Buddha but for you to not. But then why did you hide in your comfort zone and not go through adventures as the Tang monk went through his hardships? I wanted to create a new oasis for life in the island country of Vanuatu, but I found that although the indigenous people lead simple lives, not only were they lazy, but they were also greedy. They did not want to pay, but just wanted to get, and they were short-sighted. Finally, I gave up the idea of building a new oasis for life there. I lived in Africa for more than 10 years. Not only is Africa beautiful, but it is also rich. So why is it still poor and backward? This is a human problem. People are too greedy and keen on petty theft. If all they want is to get something for nothing, then how can they not remain poor and backward? I have lived in China for most of my life. Primitive African tribes still maintain their simplicity, but that of the Chinese people has all but disappeared. Everyone has become very shrewd. Not only the city people, but even those in the remotest villages have become very shrewd. Moreover, most Chinese are generally not grateful. Not only do they not pay their debts of gratitude, but they also think about how to take their benefactors' things as their own, such as how they treat the United States. How much welfare has the United States brought to China? Not to mention the Tsinghua University and Peking Union Medical College Hospital, which were built with American aid. The United States trained several million scientific, technological, and entrepreneurial management talents for China. Now, everyone uses mobile phones that are patented in the United States, let alone electric lights, HD TVs, supermarkets, and much, much more. Have we been grateful for this? Not only have we been ungrateful, but we have also scolded the United States to death. Everyone studies mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology, but from where have we gotten the knowledge of these disciplines? All are from the West. On one hand, we enjoy the welfare of others, but on the other we scold them. Is it smart, ignorant, or ungrateful? In addition, If we look at social media groups, we find that almost everyone is a judge and a master. We draw conclusions and judge people with no deep understanding of them. We regard ourselves masters and try to guide others after we have learned very little spiritual understanding. People accuse the government of being autocratic, but the reality is that everyone is really that way. Even beggars want to dictate and rule over other beggars. Are Chinese parents not autocratic dictators over their children? Between married couples, do both not try to rule and dictate over each other? So, the status of the indigenous people of Africa and China shows nothing about unjustness or unfairness. From the creation of Life Genuine to the new oasis for life, I have found that China is suffering from severe disasters, but what about the inequities created by everyone? Each generation must eat the bitter fruit left from the previous one, and no one can escape that. What about the life mode of the new oasis for life? Who can say that it is not good? The government wants to destroy it, but to where would they wish to take our people? Can you sit down and argue with Xuefeng? China has 90 million Communist Party members, each of whom swore to fight for the realization of communism throughout their lifetimes. But have they praised the emergence of the communist seedling on the Chinese earth? Have they encouraged it, or are they the ones who professed love of what they actually feared? Are the common people pursuing better lives? What kind of good life are you pursuing? Is it better than those within the new oasis for life of Life Genuine? People, cheating yourself is enough. Do not try to cheat and anesthetize others. We are all Chinese. We know each other. This is it. After living in North America for several years, I feel that it offers the best life for me, though I have no love for capitalism, nor do I recognize that the American and Canadian lifestyle is the most ideal one for mankind, but Westerners enjoy more than any others in any other part of the world. It is not unjust or unfair, but determined by people's quality. People talk about the decline of the United States, the rise of the East, and the 21st century being the one for China, but it seems so absurd to me. I have nothing to say to those people who are mentally masturbating so absurdly. What are unrealistic dreams? The ones that people are having now come pretty close. Everything happening on Earth is fair and just. The status quo of each country is, and everyone's present situation is. The ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator, has never wronged any nationality, any country, or any person. Therefore, people should not pursue justice and fairness because no one can create either one. 让自己的认知大厦全然坍塌. Let your cognitive building collapse completely. Xuefeng, October 12, 2020. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Care. If you believe that your cognitive abilities are the most profound in the world, then stick to them. Tell everyone what you know all at once, and shine a light on all who are groping through the darkness. If we find someone whose cognitive abilities surpass ours, then let us collapse our building projects, abandon all the theories that we believe to be correct, and let us serve that one. The process of serving others is that of self-accomplishment and of realizing our own ideals. Religious complexes and worshiping will inject strong energy and vitality into oneself. When I worship the ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator, Jesus, Shakyamuni, Laozi, and Guanyin Bodhisattva, I gain a new self. Since then, my life has entered a new channel. It can be said that I have been reborn. Were it not for my worshiping from inner piety, then my life path would still be dark gray. Have you ever cried with joy or experienced a state of extreme calm when you were so excited that you forgot yourself completely and you were willing to surrender yourself completely to the object of your worship? If your answer is yes, then congratulations, because you have experienced worshiping. Is there any person throughout history whom you admire? If not, then congratulations, for you are the greatest person who has ever lived. If you are not that person but have no object of worship, then sadly, you are either a poor spirit who knows not the immensity of the universe, or at least a confused individual with an unclear mind. I am neither the greatest person in the world nor the one with the most profound cognitive ability, but along my way, I have not met anyone other than Jesus, Sakyamuni, Muhammad, Pbup, and Laozi. Guanyin Bodhisattva is not a human, whom I am willing to worship. This is my sorrow, my ignorance, and it is sad not to be able to see skies beyond skies and mountains beyond mountains. The happiest people in the world are those who have dedicated their lives to the objects of worship. I am one of the happiest people because I have entrusted my life to the greatest creator and my life to Tao. Now, I have nothing else to do. The rest is to find fun and play. Play whatever is playful. There is little to do except play. It has been said that we are living in the Dharma-ending age and that a saint named Ziwei will come to save us. This Ziwei saint is both the returning Christ and the next life of Maitreya, and I am looking forward eagerly to the advent of this saint. It would be a blessing to meet this holy soul once during my lifetime, and I must have burned incense in a previous life. However, this saint must meet 3 conditions upon arriving. The saint must have a systematic theory to provide us with a theoretical standard to follow no matter what we do. Otherwise, even if he or she walks on water, flies through the clouds, and demonstrates 64 supernatural powers, sorry, they are not the saint. The saint must have nothing. No money, neither on their person nor in bank accounts, and no material possessions except for clothing. Once they possess anything material, then I am sorry to say that they are not the saint. The saint must have set an example for people, whether it is by a personal quality model or by their leading people to create a convincing and replicable mode. They must have at least accomplished some ideal cause. Otherwise, even if they can preach scriptures, integrate all theories, and have hundreds of millions of disciples, then they are not the saint. It is nothing more than a dream to depend on talking to realize a world of the great harmony of the unification of all thoughts and all beliefs into the greatest creator's will, and all religions into one uniform belief system in which the talented are entrusted with important missions that the whole world can be united as a single family. Give us an example. If the above 3 conditions cannot be met, then it is honestly suggested that the Ziwei saint should stay in the sky. Otherwise, if he or she and others were to come down, then they would not even be able to pass my tests. I have many schoolmates from my middle school, technical school, college, and university, but I cannot see any of them as having extraordinary ideas and realms because they are all merely drifting along. It is okay for them to do this, but most of them believe that they are knowledgeable with much cognitive ability and are so quick to deny others' opinions, just as the pig who saw monkeys darting up and down a tree and sneered, those poor monkeys do not even have a fixed nest. You see how happy and comfortable we pigs are. We have nests and people to feed us every day. In the past few years, I have met a lot of very knowledgeable people through social media groups on the web. At first, they gave me good impressions, but after communicating with many of them for a while, I found that most just feel good about themselves and consider themselves to be masters. Every day, in addition to selling their insights, they are busy within their web groups, rarely settling down to read the classics or about the apocalypse, but seldom do they do any practical work. Those so-called insights are not the result of their own life perceptions, but are just some borrowed wisdom from others with some small ornaments of their own that they have added in. Even so, those insights were not worth refuting at all because most of them have indicated elusive thinking. Many people are lovely, amiable, and respectable, but are not on the right track. I look at them and think, if you collapse all your cognition structure, it would be great. Heaven is not without roads and gates. The problem is that you insist that you are right, so you cannot see them or even the way to them. I would like to share this couplet, which was composed by Luoyin Celestial of Life-Echanuan. While hearts abide nowhere, then everywhere is in wonderland. If love attaches to no one, then any time is ethereal. Ethereal wonderland. 从情检测自己的生命层次. Testing one's life level according to their love. Xuefeng, November 11th, 2020. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Care. Every level of life has its own corresponding level of love which is different from all others. We can all examine our own loves to determine whether they are terrestrial or celestial. If your love troubles you and makes you miserable, then it is terrestrial. If it pleases you, then it is celestial. If your love only includes one partner throughout your life, then it is terrestrial. The more lovers you include, the more you demonstrate celestial love. If the object of your love is fixed, then it is terrestrial. If you follow your destiny and nature, then it is celestial. If you are jealous because your lover has feelings for others, then your love is terrestrial. If you are happy that your lover loves many, then it is celestial. If you find love to be divisive and that the more lovers your lover has, the less they will have for you, then yours is terrestrial. If you know that your love is in line with cosmic holography, then no matter how many partners you love, every one of them will be complete and your love is celestial. If you want to control, guide, train, and make your lover behave according to your standards, then your love is terrestrial. If you give your lover full freedom, then it is celestial. If you want to be inseparable from, pester, and always be with the object of your love, then your love is terrestrial. If you have embedded the object of your love into your consciousness, then no matter whether you are far away from each other or you live together, they will still taste very sweet and your love is celestial. If you cannot be completely magnanimous about love and you are hiding something, then your love is terrestrial. If you bear yourself open to love nakedly, then yours is celestial. Analyzing and determining the pattern and state of one's love can help them to understand the level of their life. If your love is terrestrial, then you must remain a human forever. If your love is celestial, then you are no longer a human being, but a celestial being, and you can go to the fairyland after your life's journey ends. 只有雪峰式共产主义才能解决这些问题. Only Xuefeng-style communism can solve these problems. Xuefeng, November 19, 2021. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. Elderly care, singleness, marriage breakdown, official corruption, environmental pollution, children's education and protection, poisonous food, drug abuse, whoring, gambling, fraud, theft, robbery, the integrity crisis, corruption, bribery, domineering, etc. cannot be solved by relying on historical experience and current people's cognitive level, nor can it be solved by religious teachings such as Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, etc. It cannot be solved by the ideas of Mao Zedong, by the theories of Lao Tzu and Confucius, not to mention by learning from the West about the separation of three powers system. They can only be solved by Xuefeng-style communism. Here I will first tell you the fact that moral education is not as good as system construction, and a good system is better than any form of moral preaching. Elderly care is a major issue in China and the world. In the past, the issue of providing for the elderly was dependent on children. Now many Western countries rely on the welfare system formulated by the state. Whether it is relying on children or the welfare system, it is not the best way to provide for the aged. Nursing homes of all kinds are a very sad way of providing for the elderly. Caring for the elderly, allowing the elderly to live among the young and children, and to enjoy a comfortable life in their later years is the best way to support the elderly. In this regard, Life Genuine's second home has fully proved through 11 years of practice that the